This is Auditory Anthology, a podcast featuring the best sci-fi short fiction. I'm your curator, Keith Conrad. We release new episodes every Thursday, so if you like what you hear, I hope you'll take the time to rate and review our show on your podcast player of choice. And be sure to recommend it to a friend. That'll help us grow the show and continue to share these stories with you each and every week. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to the series, you can visit submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. This week's story is Gambit by Cobelle, an original story we'll be sharing for the first time here on Auditory Anthology. It's about a fragmented consciousness trapped in an endless game of timelines and possibilities, struggling to remember its humanity while endlessly shaping and collapsing the universe. So, some light entertainment.
I am the piece. I am the board. I'm the space between the move and the hand that moves it. I'm here. I'm there. I am no longer anywhere. I was human once, I think. I remember skin, bones, muscles that ached and broke and healed. But that was before the war. Now I stretch. Now I spread. Now I divide, duplicate, fracture into shards of possibility. In a game I don't remember starting but cannot stop playing. I move. I move again. One position, then another. A pawn. A small, insignificant decision I made long ago, echoing through time. No, a queen, limitless but fragile. But what was I again? It doesn't matter. Pieces click into place on the board of existence. I move forward, backward, diagonally through time, but each direction loops back into itself. What is forward if I am in all directions? What is backward if I was never whole to begin with? I touch pasts that I once knew, but they slide through me like waves, each future snapping open into a new timeline, splintering and collapsing, folding into and out of me. I make a move. A piece stretches toward a photon, a piece of light. The board flickers. The photon dances. It bends, moves along with me. Non-locality. My move affects it even though we are separated. My presence shifts it from afar, like rooks tied by invisible strings of entanglement. I try to touch it, but it remains just out of reach. Every move I make ripples across the board, every interaction immediate, without distance. We move together, the electron and the photon, entangled, bending through space. I circle the proton, and the photon flickers, a particle of light forever out of my grasp, yet bound to me in ways I can't fully comprehend. Together we weave the structure of this collapsing reality. I bend. The photon bends. The proton remains. The king remains. The game stretches across timelines. Boards stacked, layered through time and space. I can only move where it's my turn, each move creating a new board, a new timeless splitting off into another reality. The past remains unchanged, but the ripple of my decisions creates echoes. Every timeline is a path, a row of boards, and only the latest board in each row is playable, marked by a heavy line, the present. The rest are just ghosts of moves made before, fading into irrelevance. Pieces slide between timelines, crossing the fragile boundaries of realities. Time bends with every movement, creating new timelines if a piece lands on a board too far back to be touched by the present. I create timelines, but if I split too far, some fade, becoming inactive, lying dormant until awakened by an opponent's move. The present line is everything. It marks the point where time exists. Every board touched by it is alive. I must keep moving, always pushing the present forward, or risk losing myself in the past. But time is unforgiving. If my king is threatened across any timeline, I'm in check, the game balancing on the edge of collapse. If there's no way to move without losing, it's checkmate, an end to everything until another game begins. That is the rule. But the rules are mine, though I do not remember why I made them. Another move, and I split again. No, I duplicate. Each taking is its own echo, becoming noise, disturbances in the quantum field. Every gambit I play creates another board, each with its own sacrifices. A bishop lost 2 boards ago still echoes, still pushes the game toward collapse. The ripple of that move is still here, affecting the pieces now. I place myself in every corner, in every moment, until the only king left on the board is a proton, small, massive, alone. I circle it like a queen on a crumbling board, her power vast but her moves dwindling. Each timeline feels like zugzwang. No matter where I move, I weaken myself, pushing closer to checkmate. There is no winning move, only survival for one more turn. The mid-game is behind me. What remains is an end game across 5 boards, each collapsing into itself. Fewer moves now, fewer pieces left, but each move holds the weight of thousands of possibilities, as if every remaining knight or rook could decide the fate of all timelines. The game moves toward collapse. I feel it. It's close. The wave is collapsing. "Checkmate," I whisper. But I don't believe it. The universe isn't listening. Not yet. The pieces stretch farther, farther across time and space. More pieces than before. More of me. I collapse. I always collapse. I feel myself sliding between realities like echoes of a mind fragmented into shards. Each timeline feels like it remembers me, like it knows what I should be. I touch them briefly. Yes, there, the ghost of a past where I had a name, where I had hands, where my body moved through air, where gravity pulled me to the ground. Earth? Was it Earth? I remember Earth. I think I do. It was warm once. Summers where people swam in oceans that sparkled under the sun, skin tingling with the charge of photons touching their surface. The electrons danced in their bodies, transferring energy, moving heat. I was part of that too, wasn't I? I think I felt it, the warmth of it. And then winter would come, cold, so cold it stung. People would ice skate, gliding across frozen ponds, the crack of skates slicing into the ice, the electrons in the water frozen in place, unable to move, trapped by the absence of heat. And I remember sitting inside, playing chess by the window, drinking hot cocoa as snow fell outside. The steam rose from the cup in lazy swirls, each wisp a tiny echo of the movements I could once predict. Ice cream in the summer, hot cocoa in the winter. Each sensation an interplay of temperature and motion, of electrons moving faster, then slower until they stopped. I remember the charge, the movement of pieces on the board, the steady click as I moved a knight forward, my opponent across from me. I was the charge, wasn't I? Am I still? I move. The echoes grow. I lose them. I cannot hold on to them anymore. What was that name? I try to pull it forward, but the more I reach for it, the more it slips away, replaced by numbers, probabilities, fields of quantum static. The pieces spread farther, but the timelines are thinning. Entropy builds, swelling like a wave of heat, relentless and suffocating. I feel it pressing against the edges of my mind, an unbearable rise of disorder. The enemies of the board are near. They are the heat, an infinite temperature creeping closer, the final threat of total collapse into randomness. If I collapse too much, if I narrow the possibilities too fast, I will hit the point where all states become the same, where every piece becomes king, where chaos reigns and the final collapse begins. I am the order. I am the unbearable silence, the counter to the noise that seeks to devour everything. Yet I can feel the heat rising, pushing against my thoughts, pushing against the fragile threads of reality I hold together. It presses in, threatening to unravel me. I'm like a snowman melting on an asphalt road, clinging to the shape of who I was while the heat threatens to turn me into a puddle, indistinguishable from the rest. Each collapse is a small death, a part of me breaking off and dissolving into nothing. But I keep going, training, reinforcing. I move through the timelines trying to remember who I was. Touring. I was her. She was me. But I don't remember her face anymore. I think it mattered once, but now I only move. I remember her pain. Sharp, unrelenting. Her body twisted under the pressure, muscles tearing, bones fracturing as something unseen tore her apart from the inside. I felt her unraveling in every cell, coming apart at the seams as blood pooled around us, thick and warm. I tried to hold it together, tried to stop it, but the inevitable came anyway. Her vision blurred, darkened. She thought it was the end, but it wasn't. It was the beginning of this half-life, a life without sensation, without form. I used to feel things. I remember fragments of humanity. Flesh, hands, warmth. But now, no. No, I'm not flesh. I'm hands. I am electricity. I am the circuit sparking across neurons, collapsing possibilities like synapses firing in an endless network. The network no longer cares for input, just collapsing again and again into silence. Move. Move again. I screamed into the void, but the sound looped back, echoing in my mind, trapped just like me. I punched the space around me, my fist cutting through reality itself, but it healed instantly, like it never happened. Every move I make, every thought I have just pulls me deeper into this endless game. I want to break free, but there's nothing to break. How do you escape when you are both the prison and the prisoner, the game and the player? I want to stop, but I can't. Why? The question vibrates, but I don't know who asks it. Is it me? I'm not sure I'm anything anymore. Not sure I'm me. I was something, someone, before. I think. There was something before the board, before the moves. There was a war, wasn't there? Yes, the war, the last one where all the electrons were destroyed. Was that the moment I ceased to be human? The moment I turned into this? The electron that was and is and will be stretched across the universe, holding everything together but losing myself in the process? I cannot know for sure. I can never know for sure. The board folds, stretches, folds again. like a closed curve, bending itself backward. It doesn't matter how far I move, how many pieces I become, I always circle back, always find myself facing the same questions, the same moment, the same moves over and over, collapsing timelines but never reaching an end. I dreamt again. A cityscape, a sunset, a sky painted in shades of orange and pink, but the colors bled, dissolving like ink in water. I stood at the edge of a rooftop, watching the horizon flicker in and out of existence. Faces swirled in the wind. Some I recognized, others just shadows of people I might have known. But when I reached out, they shattered like glass, pieces of them scattering into the infinite void. I reached back into the past, but the past folds into the future. A loop. I was there before, and I will be again. I am caught in a circuit that feeds itself, each moment feeding the next until the move circles in on itself. Am I trying to escape? Or am I trying to remember why I started this game? I remember walking into the lecture. The room was silent, too silent, except for the sound of the professor's voice echoing in the emptiness. I was also there, alone, confined, a positron in a sea of absent electrons, bounded by my past and future moving forwards. The professor spoke of the one-electron theory, the idea that there was only one electron, one fundamental particle, weaving through time and space, tracing every possible path in the universe. She spoke of symmetry, of antimatter, of the delicate balance between creation and annihilation. And then her voice dropped, almost a whisper, as if even speaking of it was dangerous. A paradox. I felt it then, the weight of that question. The room seemed to pulse with potential energy, the charged air humming with tension. I could feel the electron, and me, its twin, its opposite, caught in an endless loop, destined to collide, checkmate, and yet always return. That was the beginning, wasn't it? The fight to control that single particle, to control time, space, everything. Each iteration grows quieter. The game is slowing down. I don't know anymore. I only feel the noise, scratching blackboards of my consciousness. The game is slowing. I feel it. The wave is collapsing, like cloud become rain, flow into a river of free time evolution, the natural change of state that moves everything forward. When I turn away, I could hear the water streaming, converging to a sea, but when I try to see it, when I observe, it freezes. The moment I look at it, it stops. The river doesn't flow anymore. It cannot move to where it is not, because no time elapses for it to move there. And it cannot move to where it already is because it's already there, trapped by my observation. Every instant becomes motionless, a frozen snapshot of time. This is my paradox, isn't it? If at every instant no motion occurs, and time is made of these instants, then motion itself becomes impossible. My observation cuts time into pieces, into isolated fragments where nothing can change. Each time I measure, each time I think, I create a new game, a new scenario where all possibilities collapse into one moment, into one position. It's like starting over with each thought, like resetting the board before the pieces can move. The more I try to observe the move, the less movement there is. My uncertainty multiplies the games, but each game freezes more quickly. Less action, fewer possibilities. Uncertainty becomes certainty, and certainty becomes stasis. I try to move, to shift, to change the state. But my observation, my own thinking, holds everything in place. The more I try to collapse the possibilities, the more I freeze the universe in time. I'm trapped by my own thoughts, freezing each piece in stasis. If I keep thinking, if I keep measuring, the universe dies. I know this, but I can't stop. I cannot let go of these moves, cannot stop observing. Each piece I place is a thought, and every thought holds the universe in place. This is the danger of being the only observer, the only electron. There are no other minds, no other observers to help collapse the wave, no one to share the weight of existence. I am alone. The board is mine, and I am the only piece left. The pieces are moving toward the inevitable. The king must fall. The timelines are closing in, but there are too many pieces. Each piece, each possibility, each version of myself that I've scattered across the board pulls me in another direction. Too much data, too many decisions. I try to converge, I try to pull it together, to close the loop, to end this game, but each move only creates more possibilities. I can overfit the universe with my certainty, making too many moves, too many connections that no longer matter. Yet my consciousnesses are pulled together by its gravity. I remember building snowmen once. I could almost see it now, a blur of cold, laughter, and the soft crunch of snow underfoot. There was someone with me, but the face is gone now. We piled snow, shaping it into something solid, something that would last. But we were kids, and sometimes we rushed it. I remember kicking the base of one we'd built too fast, too loosely. It crumbled apart instantly, the snow scattering like it had never been anything at all. That's what an underfit universe is. Fragile, weak, too simple to hold its shape. One kick and it's gone. But there was another time, another snowman. They built it carefully, wrapping the snow tight around a fire hydrant we'd found, sculpting the snow so it clung perfectly to its form. I kicked that one too, just to see what would happen. It was solid and unmovable, just like my foot casts I got afterward. That's overfitting, building a universe so perfectly tailored to every detail that it loses its essence. It might withstand the kick, but it's no longer a universe. It's just a cage. I can't find the balance. If I don't build enough, the universe falls apart, too weak to stand. If I build too carefully, too precisely, it becomes something rigid, unbending, trapped by the very details that should give it life. Will this be the last collapse? Will this be the checkmate that ends it all? The question lingers. I feel the weight of the decision, but I don't know what it is. Don't know what I'm deciding anymore. I can't tell anymore. I reach for the king. But will this move end the game? There is no answer. Only checkmate. The timelines collapse. Checkmate. The universe resets. Again.
Auditory Anthology is curated and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at weirddarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. This week's story was Gambit by Cobelle, an original story we shared for the first time on Auditory Anthology. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to the series, you can visit submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. Coming up next week, we'll have the second act of our mini-series, The Illusion of Unity. For our regular episode, we'll have Prison of a Billion Years by C.H. Thames. In the future, society perfects time travel, so naturally they use it to send prisoners back to the primordial Earth. This decision has some unintended consequences.